Pradeep, what do you make of this idea that Mr. Vajpayee, in a sense, a certain kind of tension that's always existed within the BJP?
See, I disagree with it. First of all, I really am praying, and I've been a youngster. I've always grown up watching his speeches, and according to me, he's been the post-independence one statesman which we still have, because he cut across party lines, he cut across ideologies.
Yes.
And for me, everybody, whether it's the opposition or the government, should look on to Vajpayee, because 80% of his time he spent as an opposition leader. He started from nothing, and he actually planted an alternative vision and alternative thought which got so much acceptance. See, for me, the defining moment for Vajpayee ji has been Kargil, has been Pokhran, because despite not having a majority government, in that sense, he could take such strong decisions. And he was an individual who would you would disagree with him, you would criticize him completely, but still he would have a cup of tea with you. So I think he is somebody who was extraordinary, and in fact that he was a poet, he was visionary and idealist. But because he was also a politician, he understood the pragmatism to achieve that idealism. And for me, that is something which is there. And for all the youngsters out there, whenever we used to go on debate competitions, and it was Vajpayee ji's poems and his speeches is something which we used to look as
a political analyst. How would you compare the BJP of Vajpayee, the Atal Advani BJP, to the Modi Shah BJP?
See,
what's the one big change that you think of? Or you can
it's more cutthroat right now, is what I would say. Right, post the emergence of social media and digital media, I think politics has become very ferocious in nature. Sometimes it also gets personal. During Vajpayee ji's era, even if you would be fighting or you would be disagreeing with each other, you would definitely still have that space where you could sit personally. I think that space is somehow reduced at this moment. So that has been the difference. I don't want to analyze numbers at this moment that, okay, fine, BJP is in majority. At that time it was not.
Sure.
But yes, on the principle and the characteristic of it, I think that has been the difference. But in the DNA of has been always same, because it was Vajpayee ji who had planted that alternative vision. It was he who was the first individual to fight against the so-called dynasty and all, as you say, right, lay an alternate vision for which his Janata
in fact
was there.
Right,
so that is something which is very, very
okay
for me as an individual. See, I think, as I said, right, my first line was that he is the first statesman who's still alive, and I do hope that he gets better. But if you see that one of the I remember when Vajpayee ji was touring the BJP office, the old BJP office, and you had Narendra Modi, who was quite a distant, and he called him and he rushed and hugged him. So I think, and when there was the Gujarat thing happened, it was Vajpayee who said them, you have to follow the Rajdham. So he was in a way a mentor also to Modi, and yes, definitely Advani was in a different line. Mr. Advani ji was in a different line of thought.
Sure.
But Prime Minister Modi was close to both LK Advani and Vajpayee in different point of his life. That's why you have him here.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think this entire business of the fact that there was a Vajpayee camp or an Advani camp was probably not entirely accurate. It was more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the current generation of leaders of the BJP owed their careers, in a sense, to the mentorship of both
absolutely
Atal and Advani. As they would say.
Advani ji also understood that it is Vajpayee ji who has that aura, and he has to play that second role in command, and he was always gracious enough to accept it, and he was comfortable with it. Yeah, I disagree, because it's his vision, and today his vision has basically got majority and acceptance from across politically, right?
The Vajpayee vision, you're saying, has got
because see, let's understand, the BJP today, ultimately the plant of it, the thought of it was by Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Now in the current political scenario, the method to implement it might have changed, but he would have definitely been happy, because he was the person who said that Suraj ab ugega when he did not have any majority. He said that एक बार हम संसद में पूर्ण बहुमत के साथ आएंगे. So it's his people only.
No, I think it would be without doubt that he'd be very pleased to see how much the BJP has grown.
Correct.
But my question was more to do with the certain difference, if I were to look at it in terms of the ideological approach,
so not
the political approach of his time versus this time.
Vasu, not on the ideological front, but on the method of it. So the method of execution has changed. It has become more, as I said, it's become more cutthroat. But the ideological thing has remained the same. Now, if I take a step back, Vajpayee ji was inspired by JP, and he said that by Janata Party to chali gayi, par hum unke मूल्यों को आगे ले जाने की बात
Would you say also, Pradeep, that Mr. Vajpayee was a more inclusive figure, especially when it came to all communities of India? That's not something that he ever shied away from embracing, which we don't see to the same extent in the current BJP.
If the current BJP is getting so much of acceptance from across in so many states, I would not say it's not inclusive. The Prime Minister has always been inclusive. No speech of his, he said Hindu-Muslim.
Right.
As I said, the method of execution is different. Prime Minister comes with a different, that's his style of functioning. And the Vajpayee ji very well knew it, because it was under Vajpayee when Prime Minister was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, and Vajpayee ji acted as a mentor to him. So I am at least in my personal opinion, I think Vajpayee ji would have been extremely happy to see where things have gone. He would have disagreed with certain methods and certain styles of functioning, but the larger, ultimately everyone is a politician, and every political authority will come with his own style of functioning.
That's really quite something, isn't it? I mean, it's not surprising at all, but it is also heartwarming to see at a time when politics has become so divided that you have this cross-sectional support coming in for Mr. Vajpayee. Rahul Gandhi, of course, the latest visitor to drop in.
No, absolutely, yes. In fact, because as I said, right, Vajpayee ji for a large part of his time was an opposition leader. And if you even see Mamta Banerjee, who's in Bengal at this moment, she also had a good equation with Vajpayee ji because she was not in power in Bengal. So there was space where Vajpayee ji engaged with a large chunk of leaders across political spectrum. And I do feel, Vasu, that politics ultimately is a fight for ideas. So it should not, it's not something which is personal. So when a situation like when especially now he's a statesman, is ailing, you have leaders across political spectrum coming up, and I think that's how the Indian politics is, because I would be shocked to see that politics going so personal, where leaders do not take care of themselves even when such situations come. So even when Somnath Chatterjee, you got to know about Somnath Chatterjee ji is passing away, so you have people across the spectrum remembering this journey. So I think that the Indian politics is mature enough to rise to that occasion, and at this moment I do hope that Vajpayee ji, there's some good news out there. We are all praying for him, but yes, he was a figure that cut across ideologies, who cut across political spectrum,
sure,
could sit with anybody and speak. And I think he's been a very decisive leader, because a leader, despite not having the numbers individually, is able to do Pokhran, is able to do Kashmir, is able to fight in Kargil, is able to go to Pakistan and shake hands with Musharraf. So I think it speaks a lot about the character of the man. And he, as I said, from nothing to taking the whole alternative ideology, I think it's every student of politics should study him. Every individual should study Vajpayee ji, and that's because he had that. I would say he had that capacity to blend idealism and pragmatism. That's been very, very special, according to me, for Vajpayee ji.
Right. But, it's also interesting because talking about this business of having support across the aisle, there are these wonderful stories about different Congress Prime Minister using Mr. Vajpayee's advice or using him at important moments. There was the moment when Indira Gandhi conferred with him during the Shimla Agreement, where she calls him, and there's this great picture, we'll try and get it up, where she's walking with him in the rain, they're conferring. And then, of course, Mr. Narasimha Rao sends him to Geneva to participate in the talks to take on Pakistan. I mean, that also speaks of a different time in Indian politics.
Absolutely, yes.
When these
See, I think it's not the time, it's about the man individually, because he is the person who participated in the Quit India movement. Now, majority of the politicians, if you see, are politicians post the independent era. So Vajpayee ji was one of those standalone politicians who was very, very active even pre-independence. So I think that is what cut across prime ministers, that is what cut across governments for him, and he was consulted even individually and sent. And I see, ultimately, there is if any individual across party line is able to contribute to the country, then I do think that government should engage. But at this, I think post 90s, you've seen that less happening, and that has been a trend. That has been a change in the Indian politics. But my counter question to you is that who apart from Vajpayee ji is being consulted, right? So I think he is that standalone figure who's being consulted time and again, despite not being in the government.
Particularly with Mr. Vajpayee's very special relationship with Kashmir, and of course that iconic speech, which, as he put it, has unfortunately remained very much just at the level of theory across all governments.
True, Shri, I think the Prime Minister also invoked that principle in his Red Fort speech about the Vajpayee principle of Kashmiriyat Insaniya Jamhuriyat. So yes, he's been a visionary in that sense for sure, definitely. And Pakistan has been challenging for each government. And but the larger question here, Vasu, is that the principles that Vajpayee ji stood for, those are the principles that we should speak about, and I think that those are the principles that across party lines individuals should study and implement. And I don't see this is the right time to compare things, especially today, as we are all praying for Vajpayee ji's health, because Vajpayee ji lived in a different era, Modi ji is in a different era, Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Every leader has an era, and the leader basically takes decision as per the circumstances which are there. And especially, I do believe that this is not the day to compare in leaders or past the BJP before, right now. I think we can leave that to the other day. For me, what is important is that Vajpayee ji's health is important, and I do hope that he gets back. But yes, and the situation is very critical, so let's wait and watch.
What are you hearing yourself about the situation? Because you also must be in touch with people.
See, Vasu, I think what best I can say on air is that situation is extremely critical. And in the past 24 hours, his situation has not improved. I think
it's not improved, yes. I think that's the important bit.